Chapter 8. Jumping my blade is much harder without the jump assist, but since my mecha's power line directly connects my own flux veins in my body into the artificial flux running through my mecha's body and systems, flux being a bluish fluid that carries the magical power of my body that power my magitech systems of my blade like shields and crystal drives, it's still much easier than if I was jumping with a rock of the same size and weight. Seeing a good spot on a mountain below, I let gravity claim my mecha. We plummeted through the canopy, branches shattering like glass under the force of my mecha. Despite the impact against the forest floor because of my mecha's shield, we didn't feel anything from the impact. Hitting the cockpit shutter control of the metal iris covering the front window in my mecha's chest causes the iris to retract, letting in the fading light of this planet's sun. I let out a shaky breath as I surveyed our damaged surroundings. Still, in one piece I tell myself, we appear to be in a large pine forest. But what about the princess? A blood-curdling scream echoed from the cockpit floor in front of me. The princess is curled up in a ball, clutching her head and thrashing about. "Highness, are you?" Before I could finish my question, she launches herself from the floor at me with wild eyes and frantic movements. Her nails clawed at my helmet and she then stabbed something sharp into my arm. "Hey, cut it out," I yelled as I shoved her away with a light force push, leaving her small knife jammed into my arm. "I just rescued you, so don't stab me." But she was beyond reason. She once again jumps on me screaming obscenities and flailing with uncontrollable rage. This wasn't just fear or panic, it was pure madness. Finally, I had enough. I grabbed her and with a mental command wrapped us in my shield and then teleported outside. This time we fell a few feet and hit the pine needle covered ground with a jarring whump which made my arm feel oh so wonderful. I didn't run the inertia, gravity cancelling field on my glove shield due to power constraints. Canceling my shield, I shove her away with my non-stabbed arm. Taking a moment to regain my footing, I stand and I glare at Helen. "What the hell, princess?" She was heaving, her chest rising and falling like a panicked bird's, eyes darting around as if she expected the ground beneath her feet to open up and swallow her whole. Her hands were balled into fists, another small knife gleaming wickedly in the twilight filtering through the dense canopy. It had been the middle of the day at the spaceport, but having jumped us halfway around the planet to get away from Bookworm, it was now twilight. "Stay away," she screeched, brandishing the knife she pulled from somewhere. The tiny weapon shone in her trembling hands. She looked cornered, wild, like a creature driven to desperation. "I won't let you hurt me." "Hurt you?" I laughed, despite myself. The sound was bitter and dark, all trace of my usual humor lost in the weight of this ridiculous situation. "I just saved your life." "You're welcome, by the way." The nerves in my arm screamed in protest as I reached down to yank out the offending blade still stuck in it. My vision swam for a second. "Gah," I gasped, turning back toward my mecha. I place my hand against the crystal in the palm of my Starblade's hand and jump inside. The first order of business is to turn off the shield on my mecha. It is not that easy to detect, but I don't want to take any chances. Next I flop down in my chair, which is lying horizontal since my mecha is flopped on its back after cutting off the shield. I can hear the princess now pounding on the outside of my mecha, screaming for me to not leave her. That's woman for you. One minute they are stabbing you in the arm, next they are begging you to not leave them. Next I hook myself back into my mecha and activate the medical function and wait as it first scans me, then deploys some scary looking arms to fix my cut. As my blade's medical unit gets to work, I have a flashback that resembles a space ad. All of our star blades that are used by Star Knights come equipped with many features that most people would consider unnecessary, such as a full medical robot, a sonic shower and laundry unit, and a large amount of survival and camping gear just in case. Because we here at the Velociraptor Vehicle Company believe every vehicle should be worthy of Raptor Jesus if he decided to come back to us and take a joyride in one of our vehicles. Luckily, one of the side effects of being an awakened human is that I heal fast from any injuries, but on the downside, I will need way more food till I am done healing. Once the Medibot is sure I'm not gonna die, it releases me. "Thanks for the patch-up job, big guy," I murmur, gratefully patting the console. Stepping out of my mecha, I confront Helen. She quickly backs up against a tree, eyes wide and chest heaving. "Let's get something straight, princess," I say, crossing my arms over my chest and raising an eyebrow at her. "I didn't want to fight your father and his guards, but someone ambushed us at the jump point with over 100 drones. And your father is the prime suspect. I don't know why Bookworm shot first rather than talk, but that's where we stand right now," I say in a cold voice. Her eyes narrow and she clutches her knife tighter, but she doesn't attack me again. Smart move. My father wouldn't order an ambush on you. He was the son of a Star Knight. Her voice is desperate yet defiant. I never said it was your dad, I reply evenly, keeping my gaze steady on hers. But someone did order that ambush. And at the very least he failed in keeping the jump point safe. We lost a whole jump ship and over 100 crew. I paused for a moment to let this sink in. I then continued, that attack on us was not a small one. There were over 100 drones all armed with nuclear bombs and they all detonated at the same time to overwhelm our ship's shields. Your father was either complicit, or failed in one of his major duties as ruler of this system. Her expression changed from defiance to confusion, brows furrowing as she processed my words. But, if it wasn't my father, then who? I sighed, leaning back against my mecha and staring up at the twin moons peeking through the canopy. Their silvery light cast an ethereal glow on the dark forest. This planet was beautiful, but danger lurked in even the most idyllic of places. Although thanks to smart terraforming planning we didn't have to worry about four-legged predators, unless this planet had mutants. That's what I aim to find out, I said looking at the princess. But I'll need your help. You know this planet better than any outsider could. I glanced back at the princess, gauging her reaction. There was still hesitation in her eyes, uncertain about trusting me. But we both knew she had little choice if she wanted to get to the bottom of this mystery. After a long moment, she nodded. Very well. But know if you try anything I can defend myself, she says brandishing her knife. I nodded in agreement, though I doubted her combat skills would pose much of a threat. My cybernetically enhanced wizard abilities far outmatched her simple knife. Still, I had to gain her trust if I hoped to unravel this mystery. I give you my word that no harm will come to you, as long as you don't betray me, I swore solemnly. Helen's eyes searched mine, perhaps judging my sincerity. Finally, she lowered her knife and stepped away from the tree. Suppressing my need for answers, I focused on our immediate needs, rest and recovery. As Helen sought refuge in a survival tent pulled out of my Starblade's stash of survival gear, I busied myself with working on overriding the lockout on my mecha. I don't make much progress before I succumb to weariness. Setting up a quick warning system using the few sensors, I managed to wrest control over and making sure Helen is safe inside the tent. Seeking solace in the familiar confines of my mecha's command chair, I decide it was time to recharge my body and strategize for the upcoming battle. So I fall into a dreamless sleep. The next morning, I wake just as the sun began peeking over the horizon, casting everything in a soft golden glow. Helen was still asleep inside the tent as I quietly left my mecha to start a small fire. As the flames crackled to life, I rummaged through my supplies for our breakfast. Survival ration packs consisting of concentrated nutrients and carbohydrate bars. Not exactly gourmet cuisine, but it would have to do. I was heating water for instant recafe when Helen emerged, bleary-eyed and wary. Good morning, princess. Sleep well? I asked lightly, handing her a ration pack and a steaming mug. The minor drug coffee still holds its grip over the majority of the Empire population, and while I don't drink it religiously like many people, I felt the need for it today. As well as one can sleep in the middle of a forest while fleeing for their life, Helen replied dryly, taking the offerings. She grimaces at the flavor but surprisingly eats without complaint. We ate in silence for several minutes before Helen spoke again. What's our plan? I considered her question as I sipped my recafe, analyzing our options. We need more information. I don't know who ambushed us or why, but someone wanted us dead. And we need to know why. Bookworm jumped to the conclusion that your father was behind it and caused, well, you know, the whole spaceport debacle. From my knowledge of this planet and system, this place was considered safe and we were on a routine diplomatic show the flag mission, and that attack took us completely off guard. Helen nodded, her expression grim. My father had many enemies and most of the nobles while openly supporting the Empire secretly hated and feared the Star Knights. But open attacks like this are rare. But the Imperial Eyes were wiped out in an attack last month. The Imperial Eyes serve as the Empire's spies, investigators and police on most planets. There are usually only a few official eyes on most planets, but they usually integrate with local law enforcement, provide advanced core world-level tech crime scene investigation tools and methods, and serve as judges for interplanetary disputes. Zord, that's bad. If the eyes were gone, then I didn't have access to any Imperial options, and would have to rely on the people who live on this planet. Is there anyone on this planet we can trust? I ask. Helen thought for a moment. Duke Morrow has always been loyal to my family. If we can make it to his estate, he may provide aid. I frowned, wary of trusting anyone tied to King Blackstar. But we had few options. Very well, can you lead us there? Yes, but it is a long ways away, so you need to fly us there in your mecha or I have to call for a pickup, Helen says as she pulls out a small computer tablet. What's that? I ask worriedly, hope she hadn't just sent out our location. This is a personal computer, don't worry, mine is encrypted and our planet has a string of pearls data net so I can pull down data anywhere. That's good, but still be careful, most tablets like that have backdoors in them. Don't worry, this is custom made for me, Helen assures me. Well, I'm gonna take another crack at lifting the lockdown on my mecha, I say. I wish I could use my implants, which would make the task much faster, but it would take some surgery to remove my inhibitor chip, which I wasn't comfortable with doing on myself.